Hello, my name is Nathan Taylor, otherwise known as Sockmatician, and this is a tutorial showing you an alternative way to work the SSK. Now the SSK is of course a left-leaning single decrease, and it's called that because it decreases your stitch count by one stitch, and it appears to lean to the left on the side of the fabric that's facing you. That's because the rightmost stitch sits on top of the leftmost stitch, and it seems to lean in that direction. It's traditionally worked by slipping one stitch knitwise from the left needle to the right, the second stitch knitwise from the left needle to the right, and then you either transfer back purlwise or just stick the needle in like that and knit the two stitches together through the back legs. And as you can see there in the resulting stitch, that's the little decrease there with the right stitch sitting on top of the left one, and it seems to lean over in that direction. But a few years ago I was on a plane on the way from Sydney to San Francisco, and I was just messing around with some different techniques for doing some stuff, and I came up with this method that I call the Zorro method. And it's called the Zorro method because you remember the Zorro with his sword. It feels a bit like that when you do it, so that's the name I gave to it. I didn't expect it to become a viable alternative, really. It's just another way of doing it, which I thought was kind of fun. I taught it at a class in San Francisco though, and a lady at the back of the class says, "Are you kidding me? I'm never going to do it the same way again." So this is how I did it. Rather than rearranging the stitches or remounting the stitches first and then pulling one loop through them, what I thought I would do is I would take the needle through the stitches as they already are sitting on the left needle, and then wrap the yarn and pull it through without doing any rearranging up front. That was the task I'd set myself, and it looks like this. So you go into the first stitch on the left needle, knitwise exactly as normal. You don't wrap any yarn and you don't slip anything across. Then you bring the tip of the right needle coming towards you between stitches 1 and stitches 2. So just like that. And then you go knitwise into the second stitch on the left needle, like so. Then you can wrap the yarn anti-clockwise around the needle tip, as always, of course. And then you bring the needle tip out the way it went in. So you come out through that second stitch, you go away from you between the first and second stitch, and then you come back towards you through the first stitch like that, and then you can slip both stitches off the needle and investigate what you've done, and you can see it's exactly the same as that previous one there. So there's no rearranging of stitches up front. This is particularly useful, it turns out, if you're working lace, which is a very loose technique. If you're a tight knitter working at a tight gauge, it's probably going to be a little bit fiddly for you, but it can work very nicely for not interrupting the flow of what you're doing. So through, back and through, wrap, out, there and back. And you see that shump, 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 shump. Feels very Zorro-ish, doesn't it? And it's very, very simple to do. 1, 2, 3... wrap, 4, 5, 6, done, without any need for remounting the stitches up front. And that is the Zorro method for working the SSK. It also makes sure, of course, that all of your stitches in the SSK are mounted correctly and lying open and untwisted. I think there are some other methods of doing this which go through the stitch one way and through the stitch the other way, and one of the stitches ends up being twisted as it lies in the fabric. But these are the perfect SSK. One more time then. In, back towards you, and in, wrap the yarn, back towards you, away, back towards you, and off. And that's your Zorro SSK. Zip!